Central Regional Commissioner Joshua Nkanatha said the figures, though encouraging, fall short of the government's target of 100% transition under the competency-based education. Nkanatha urged parents to take advantage of President William Ruto's directive allowing parents to enroll their children in their respective senior schools with or without uniform and school fees.
Jana jioni tukifunga tulikuwa tumefikia 84%. Ile percentage ya the region Kirinyaga ilikuwa ata 88%, Nyeri ilikuwa ata 82%, Kiambu ilikuwa I think at around 88%, Nyandarua ilikuwa chini kidogo, I think around 80%, but the average was 84%. Bila tumesema hata kama nini deadline ilikuwa leo, tunataka nini wale watoto wamebaki nyumbani. Hatuwezi kusema mtoto amechelewa kwenda shule hata yenda, wote wasanywe na machief na wapelekwe mashule. So hii hatujasimamisha kwa sababu ati deadline ilikuwa leo, hapana. We want to have 100% transition.
Still on grade 10, a disabled family in Kwale County is appealing to well-wishers to intervene and help their children enroll in senior school after failing to secure placement despite qualifying for admission. The family says poverty, unemployment and disability have made it impossible for them to raise school fees, forcing their student to remain at home as her peers report to school.
16-year-old Rose Kerubo, whose dream is to become a doctor, remains at home while her classmates join grade 10 because her blind, unemployed father cannot afford school fees. Despite scoring 34 points, Rose was denied admission to Kisumu Girls and now seeks placement at Mvindeni Secondary in Msambweni. The family is appealing to the Ministry of Education and well-wishers to intervene and sponsor her education.
Mfadhili yote mtoto mwenye atashikwa na huruma tusaidie. Angalau mtoto asome, chochote kile kitatokea, angalau Mungu atatusaidia.
Tumefika CDF, tukaambiwa parcel bado. Tulienda mpaka kwa governor, tukafuatilia lakini tukaambiwa mpaka kuwe na admission number. Sasa tumekwama mpaka huyu mtoto aingie shule, awe na admission, ndio labda anasaidika. Kwa hivyo naomba usaidizi kwa mwisani yote ambaye ataguswa. Kama anaweza kusaidia tutashukuru sana.
Elsewhere, Lamu County plans to sponsor over 2,000 learners who are unable to join grade 10. Lamu Governor Issa Abdallah Timami said the county will support some grade 10 learners as well as Form 3 and Form 4 students after the Control of Budget approved counties to continue offering bursaries.
Kwa hivyo kama serikali tutajaribu kusaidia vile tunavyoweza kuhakikisha wale wengine 1,800 na wao wameripoti kwa mashule ili waendelee na masomo.
While Dom Shoes and Well Wishes have donated 1,000 pairs of shoes to vulnerable learners at Gashoro Primary School in Juja, Kiambu County.
Our theme is to make sure no child go to school barefooted. That's our theme. That's our goal. So we are starting here in Juja constituency, but we are spreading all over. We want to expand the scope to make sure we go everywhere.
Vile tumeweza kupata hii usaidizi ya viatu. Sasa watoto wetu hawatakuwa wakipata na magonjwa ambayo inaweza wapata wakati wanakuja shule bila viatu.
Ian Zive for Lunchtime News.
Now, the government has called for a multi-sectoral approach in fighting against terrorism, violent extremism and radicalization by incorporating community-led interventions with intelligence, tactical operations to dismantle terror cells with grassroots community engagement to disrupt recruitment. Speaking during the closure of a 3-day crisis communication training organized by the National Counter-Terrorism Center, bringing together the security agencies, communication officers, the media and the civil society, the National Government Communication Center Acting Director General Charles Owino said that all organizations and agencies work for the benefit of the public. Owino also called on the media to balance factual reporting while avoiding excessive publicity that may amplify terror propaganda.
The reason why you have to bring all stakeholders together is that acts of terror do not affect an individual. It affects the whole society. And therefore, all stakeholders are important. The stakeholders, it's not just government. Government works for the community, works on behalf of the community. So when we have the NGOs who are supporting the communities, we have members of the Fourth Estate. The members of the Fourth Estate will be able to understand why we are doing a holding statement. They will also be able to understand why we are not jumping into telling them the number of people who have been injured, because we need to be truthful, we need to be accurate.
This workshop brought together key communication practitioners from government, civil society, and media to build practical skills in crisis communication and coordinated responses to extremist propaganda.
Now, the Environment and Lands Court sitting in Naivasha, Nakuru County, has ordered the national government and Nakuru County government to compensate and resettle tens of families displaced by the rising waters of Lake Naivasha. The court also directed the two governments to facilitate the evacuation of all residents currently affected by the rising water levels. In a ruling delivered virtually, Judge Mary Oundo directed that the recommendations of a 2021 report by a parliamentary task force on the flooding be implemented and the riparian boundaries marked afresh. This follows a successful petition filed by the affected residents of Kihoto Estate in Naivasha.
Operationalize a multi-agency task force that shall embark on the enforcement of the orders issued herein and file a...
It has been established that this is a natural a phenomena that has not been brought about by people living on riparian land. The court has identified that the people living in Kihoto are not living on what is termed as riparian land. We have landowners with title deeds, people who have purchased property. People have put in their hard-earned money, constructed houses, which were washed away or are no longer inhabitable. So the question was, what should happen to these people?
Apart from the relocation of the people, there is property that was damaged within Kihoto. The people we have within Kihoto have very genuine title deeds. And today, through Wakiri, Wairegi here, a solution has been found.
Environmentalist Trufena Muthoni, Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti, and Auditor General Nancy Gathungu have been named the top 20 most impactful women in a survey conducted by Timely Kenya. The survey was commissioned 8 months ago, and the research team monitored and evaluated women's activities in leadership. Other featured in the list are entrepreneurs and public servants who include Stella Atambo, Eunice Mamito, Crystal Asige, P.S. Mary Muthoni, and Rukia Mohammed, among others. Well, we move on, where a middle-aged man from Bibirioni village in Limuru constituency has died after a fire engulfed his 5-room house in the wake today. According to eyewitnesses, firefighters were unable to contain the inferno, and police have launched investigations into the incident.
Hata mwenyewe alikuwa huko ndani na aliweza kuagamia huko, na hakuna kitu chochote kiliweza kuokolewa.
Ningependa serikali iweze kufanya uchunguzi zaidi mwafaka ili tuweze kujua chanzo cha huu moto ni nini na sababu ya huo moto kuanza ilikuwa ni nini.
A 6-year-old Maria Nashipai Wanjiro, a grade 1 pupil at St. Joseph Comprehensive School in Murunduko, Mwea, Kirinyaga County, has launched a campaign called One Girl, One Tree, aiming to plant 10,000 trees over the next 5 years. Maria has already planted over 1,000 fruit trees to promote environmental conservation among children. Maria, who holds the Tiny Little Miss Kirinyaga and Tiny Little Miss Eco project titles, urged her peers, especially girls, to join her initiative under the slogan, One Girl, One Tree, One Future. Her mother, Masi Kirembo, said the campaign has inspired many pupils to plant trees at school and at home, while her teacher described her as a role model, encouraging children to protect their environment.
I believe hope grows when we take care of our planet. I saw people collecting fruit. I saw people cutting trees. I came with an idea. I will plant fruit trees to give us fruits. We'll sell them to give us money.
She is now the captain of the environmental club that was started in school. She goes to Murunduko Joseph School. So they have an environmental club and they have been planting trees. So that has been a passion of hers, and I'm happy that I was able to nurture her, that I was able to support her, and now she is into the environmental conservation.
So we are going to push this to further heights, and we are going to take this to other levels, and we hope to see her in the international levels.
Indeed, we wish her all the best in her endeavor. Now, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has accused leaders from northern Kenya of intimidating journalists and orchestrating a boycott of a planned roundtable interview at his current residence in Nairobi. Gachagua said the leaders went to great lengths to prevent radio stations in Mandera, Garissa, Marsabit, Wajir, and Isiolo from airing the interview. He claimed the actions were driven by fear of the truth and aimed at suppressing voices that would hold regional leaders accountable.
Ni makosa sana viongozi kutisha wanahabari wasiongee na kiongozi wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ndio wananchi wasijue ukweli kinagaubaga. Shida za kaskazini mwa Kenya lazima sasa sijulikane, na huyu Rigathi Gachagua amejitolea kusaidia watu wa kaskazini mashariki na kaskazini.
National government administration officers in Isiolo County have been sensitized on new guidelines for issuance of national identity cards following the abolition of vetting committees. The exercise forms part of a nationwide program by the Minister of Interior to enhance service delivery at the grassroots level. Principal Secretary Dr. Belia Kipsang said chiefs and assistant chiefs are now responsible for identifying eligible applicants, as they are best placed, that is, to verify residents within their communities. He noted that the move aims to eliminate delays, corruption, and discrimination, particularly in marginalized areas, and will ensure fast access to identity documents for young people. The meeting also addressed the fight against alcohol and drug abuse and the government's policy on 100% transition to senior school.
Our officers, the assistant chiefs and the chiefs, because these are the people who live and stay with those communities, and they therefore know their people. And now we are going forward, we are going to use live capture equipment. Live capture equipment will be able to capture the face, capture the biometrics, scan in the documents that we require, and within 7 days, on 7 minutes, we shall have been able to capture all information about an individual, submit that information wherever you are, whether you are in Isiolo, you are in Lodwar, the information where we have internet and Wi-Fi, the same information will be wired to Nairobi, and this will enable us within 7 days, if you are in Nairobi, within one day, to be able to get your IDs.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has flagged off a team of anti-corruption crusaders to embark on a 350-kilometer walk from Eldoret to Nairobi to raise public awareness on the fight against corruption. The Commission's Deputy Director in the North Rift Region office, that is Kuntai Ole Tingisha, says the volunteers will cover the distance in an estimated 10 days, preaching integrity and zero tolerance to corruption to members of the public.
Getting a common message of combating corruption, being a responsibility for all of us, and knowing that EACC as an institution is only the lead, but the responsibility is bestowed with all of us.
In this exercise, it is not for targeted number. It is for everyone, be it youth, aging, women, men, even children. Corruption begins with small children.
It was joy for a family in Bungoma after their son, who went missing 2 years ago, was traced to a home care at Kithioko in Masinga, Machakos County. Emmanuel Wamalwa, a 22-year-old, is said to have left home 2 years ago to work in Kerugoya, Kirinyaga County, where he allegedly developed mental illness before disappearing. It is after receiving treatment that Emmanuel started gaining consciousness 2 weeks ago and gave his father's contacts.
Niko na furaha chungu nzima kupata mtoto yangu yuko salama, yuko hai, mmenipokeza narudi naye nyumbani. Hata nimepigia watu wa nyumbani pia wanao pia wamefurahi. Hata nimekuwa na wakinipigia masimu hapo umefika, nikawaambia nimefika. Hata tumekaa na assistant chief, tumekaa na wale wahudumu wa kanisa pamoja na wananchi wa kijiji.
The man is talking, is making some noise, he also cannot express himself. Because also the sister who made a follow-up and then got the contact of his father, so that he contacted them. Kwa hivyo, I really inquire those people who see mad people and sound-minded people and mistreat them. They should not do that.
Nimefurahia sana kuona wazazi na nashukuru sana sister kwa kunilea. Asante.
We received some visitors from Nairobi ambao walikuwa madaktari. Sasa mmoja wao akamuona akatuambia atamwandikia madawa. Sasa mimi nikaenda kumnunulia madawa, tukaanza kumpea. Muda kama wiki 3 hivi akaanza kurespond, akaanza kuongea polepole. Sasa juzi tu akafunguka kabisa, mpaka akaniambia namba ya babake, nikaita babake tukaongea.
Imagine needing a haircut, but the barber has only a razor and no way to see clearly because there's no electricity. For residents of Mashamba area in Malindi, that was their daily reality until today. A government-funded electrification project has finally brought power to the community. Already, small businesses are operating longer hours, young people are learning practical skills, and families no longer have to end their day when the sun goes down. Ben Chumba reports from Mashamba area with this special story on how electricity is changing lives.
At 22 years old, Moses Kaingu already knows what it means to hustle. In Mashamba area of Malindi, he runs the only barber shop around. Until today, Moses shaved his clients using a razor blade. Slow, painful, and tiring work that forced many customers to walk away before their turn.
Naumiza kiwembe, lakini itabidi sasa utafanya nini? Itabidi uonyelewe hivyo.
Kila mteja ana wembe yake huo. Unachukua wembe wako, unanifuata, unakuja na kunyoa na unanipa pesa yangu. Sasa uko na wembe wako. Unless wewe mwenyewe umekubali, nimemnyoa huyu, maybe useme chukua wembe wake, unicut skin, upige cut. Hiyo nakubalika. Lakini hizi wembe zaisha mapema, hizi nyola watu wawili. Hii tayari kinyoa mtu mmoja nikimaliza itakuwa imeisha kukata.
Without electricity, Moses closed his business at sunset. Income was limited. Growth was impossible. Today, that changed. The Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation commissioned electricity in Mashamba area and a government-funded project connecting 348 households for 21 million shillings.
When we bring power, when we do substation, when we do transmission lines, we are increasing access to electricity, and doing those transmission lines, we help the industries access power, and so therefore they create employment. So it is a whole government approach, and that is why we talk of energy being enabler. This is a serious enabler, a serious tool to transform the lives of Kenyans.
Within minutes of power coming on, customers began arriving. The barber chair that once sat idle was suddenly occupied.
Nanyoa watu wengi kwa muda mfupi, na pia time imekuwa extended kwa sababu niko na stima. Ukiona ile manual ile huwezi, ikifika saa 12 huwezi ona saa, inabidi unafunga hata kama uko na wateja. Inabidi unakuja siku inayofuata unafunga unaenda nyumbani. In fact kuna watu wengine wananipigia simu, tuko hapa tutaka service. Saa inabidi hata kama ni saa 1 natoka nyumbani na kuja na nanyoa.
Moses bought electric clippers. He now trains other young men to work with him.
Mapato yanaongezeka tena kwa asilimia kubwa sana, kwa sababu wateja wanakuwa wengi. Time pia nimeextend, kuna wale wanafanya kazi wanarudi usiku na wanarauka sana, kwa sasa wapata wakati natumia wembe kwa sababu nafunga mapema. Sasa naweza nikaja wanyoa kama saa 2, wanaenda asubuhi wanarauka kazini.
Outside the shop, a waiting line forms.
Hapo tulikuwa tunatumia gharama kwa sababu utakuwa unataka kunyolewa, na huko hakuna stima, huwa tunatumia pikipiki, tunaenda Kijiwe Tanga kwenda kunyolewa. Lakini sasa hapa wakati stima ilifika huku, hapa hutumii paka shilingi kwa kuja tayari hapo wanyolewa, wachukue ile pesa ambayo ulikuwa unyolewa, wapeanela kutumia fare, una save.
Nearby, young men sell ice, a business that did not exist before electricity.
Manake ukiuza moja 10, 6 unampelekea mwenyewe, 4 unachukua. Na kama umechukua 200 pieces, wewe unapata ngapi? So unaona iko kitu kidogo. Uko na 800.
In the neighboring Fundi Hamisi area, another government-funded project implemented by REREC is set to connect 280 households at a cost of 17.8 million shillings.
We are extending the grid, which is one of our main mandate. And it is not so much that the extension of the grid is to bring about socio-economic development in our rural areas, because we know that a country cannot develop if you do not develop, the roots, the grassroots.
For Moses, electricity has turned a skill he learned in school into a livelihood. For the community, it has brought opportunity closer to home. What took years to promise has taken minutes to change lives.
Well, thank you, Ben Chumba, for that report. And on that note, we want to take a short break, but when we'll be back, I'll be delving into that interview that I already alluded to, talking about antimicrobial resistance in animals and probably how it also affects human health. That's coming up shortly.
Kila Jumamosi saa 1 jioni kuna sauti mbili zinazotawala anga ya habari. Dada wawili pacha, magwiji wa ulingo wa habari.
Karibu sana katika Dira ya Magwiji.
Magwiji kwa upekee wa sauti, mtindo na maarifa.
Katika enzi ya sasa iliyosheheni mabadiliko,
tuko ange kukuletea taarifa, fafanuzi kutoka kila pembe ya dunia.
Jamila na Wanjiru wanakupeleka kwenye safari ya taarifa, uchambuzi na uhodari wa matukio yanayotikisa dunia.
Tunajizatiti kukupa taarifa sahihi na kwa wakati.
Habari kwa jicho la kitaalam.
Tuna hamu na hamamu katika kuuliza maswali stahiki yenye kuwajibisha,
na sauti ya uhalisia.
Tupe sikio na macho kwa taarifa
za kina.
Dira ya magwiji, pacha wa habari, kila Jumamosi saa 1 jioni hapa KBC Channel 1.
Uwepo wako uende nasi, usiibe mtihani, utapatwa na mashaka. Hata ukiniangalia ni wewe ninaambia.
Kuwa 1% kubwa ya vijana ulimwenguni hata nchini haina maadili.
Nani alaumiwe? Serikali, shule ama wazazi? Kwa maoni yangu, naona wazazi ndio wanafaa walaumiwe.
Kwa maoni yangu, hamna mtu yoyote ambaye anapaswa kulaumiwa.
Mtoto wa mjini hajui kulima.
Jitoto vya mjini vinajua kulima.
Kaunti nambari 10 inaitwaje?
Nakuru.
Maajabu na miujiza.
A conversation about changing systems, rebuilding dignity, and of course, proving that there definitely is life beyond the bars.
Shock on me. This officer says to me, I'm actually here to arrest you. From that point on, the wrongful prosecution begins. I am a convicted felon in this country. The friends I had, all the contacts, everyone has disappeared. So reality checks in. And it's a very harsh reality. Poverty does not equate criminality.
Yeah.
So let us change that in this country and see to it that the opposite of justice is not inequality.
Indeed, welcome back, and we want to delve into that discussion that I earlier alluded to, and that is antimicrobial resistance. It is not a new term, really, antimicrobial resistance, which just means, resistance of viruses, fungi, and also bacteria to the medicines that are supposed to actually kill them. But we've been looking at it, mainly looking at the human health, but today we want to delve into how antimicrobial resistance is affecting animal health. And joining me in studio right now is Dr. Moses Olum. He's a research scientist at Calro. Thank you so much, Dr. for coming into the studio.
Thank you very much. Feeling welcome.
Yes, so let's talk about antimicrobial resistance in brief. First of all, many people understand antimicrobial resistance from a human point, in the sense of people misusing antibiotics, self-medication, over-the-counter, and all that. What does antimicrobial resistance look like in animals?
So the same thing that happens in people happen in animals. And one thing that it would be important to note is that the same antibiotics and antivirals and everything that are used in humans are the same products that we use in the animals. The difference is that the concentrations that we use in those species are a little bit more, because the animals are much bigger, they weigh much more kilos. So the products that we use for animals are the same products used for people, particularly antibiotics. And because of that, then if we develop antimicrobial resistance in animals, then that can be transferred to people in their food, because at the end of the day, we eat the animals.
Definitely, yes. we depend on animals for our food. So in humans, we look at it as the misuse of antibiotics. You know, when you get a small cough, you know, a small sore throat, you go into the chemist and decide to self-medicate. But in animals, how does that look like? Is it that they're overused, or how are they supposed to be used in animals, and how are they being misused?
So the only disadvantage we have in the animal health space is that we realize that people look at the animals and the people who provide animal health services as not very available. So if you do not have professionals who are available to treat your animal, then you resort to, again, self-treatment in the animals. So whenever your animals become sick out of any disease, you probably don't get the proper diagnosis and go ahead to treat. And as that happens, so most people realize that when the animals get better, chicken, you give them medicine for 2 days, they get better, you stop the treatment, you have exposed bacteria in them to this antibiotic, and therefore they end up being resistant at the end of the day. So when you expose animals to less of these antibiotics, then there is a very high chance of developing resistance. At the same time, you find that there is misuse of these products. So we are supposed to work in hygienic environments so that our animals are able to be free of disease. But most farmers operate in not very hygienic environments. Therefore, the animals end up being sick often. And when they get sick, the cover is antibiotics. So we are using antibiotics to cover for unhygienic standards. And when this happens, therefore, you realize that the animals will be coming to your plate before they are withdrawn. There is something we call a withdrawal period. After your dairy cow gets treatment, you need to not give the milk to people to consume for a period of time, depending on the drug that has been used. This applies to poultry and chicken for meat. This applies to beef for meat. So this period is most of the time not observed. And then you end up giving people with traces of antibiotics, of the food with traces of antibiotics. When this happens, therefore, people will end up being also exposed to these antibiotics, and now people are getting exposed to antibiotics from their food in very low quantities, and this leads to resistance development.
Okay, so you've mentioned unhygienic conditions, and that is why probably the animals are falling sick, and that is why the farmers are also now trying to, can I say, treat them themselves, because probably they think like the veterinary officers are not available to help them out. And so my question is, how does this now relate to human health? Because right now there is this term that we are, you know, it's that has been coined, if I may put it, One Health, where animal health is definitely directly, you know, to human health. It's very direct to human health. So how does that affect human health? And probably as you answer that question, maybe you will also be very interested to know which particular animals are you seeing in your research as the ones that, can I say, the farmers are abusing these antibiotics?
So there is a very clear linkage, although it's very complex, between animals and people, because when you slaughter a chicken to eat, that is now your food. And if you treated that chicken just a few days ago, you're getting exposed to the drugs that you used in that chicken. If you are going to again slaughter that chicken and not do it in hygienic standards, then you're going to be exposed to bacteria that is within the gut, the intestines of this chicken, and that becomes the what will make your food not unsafe. So in that space, we talk about food safety. So there are two ways of interacting with antibiotics or drugs in the food. In that you have treated an animal, you have not given them time for this antibiotic or this drug to clear out of the body, so you get exposed to that antibiotic. And now when you're getting exposed, you're not getting exposed at the right doses. So you are okay, but being exposed to drugs. Secondly, if your animals have gone to the end of that trail of developing the antimicrobial, antibiotic resistant bacteria, then they will be able to transmit that bacteria to you especially again if you're operating within unhygienic standards. So this is how One Health comes about, because the bacteria that are in the animals are able to infect people and cause diseases, something like Campylobacter, E. coli, among others. They are able to infect people and actually cause diseases in them. So whenever this happens, then human beings are exposed to this. So this is coming about because of misuse, actually, of drugs in animal production. And as I said, it's a cover for poor hygiene, among other things. People know that you need to vaccinate your chicken, you need to vaccinate your cow, but they don't do that, waiting for them to get ill and treat them. So we realize that the most antibiotic or drug use is happening in dairy production systems, where we have animals that produce milk. They are treated for infections like mastitis, which is infection that affects the udder and affects the milk production. And we find huge antibiotic consumption in chicken as well. So the chicken that we are eating that is produced in a short period of time, because again of research, and you're able to get broilers in about 4 weeks out to ready for consumption, people tend to cover everything with drugs. So when that happens, you either get exposed to the drugs that were used, or you get exposed to bacteria that have developed resistance to antibiotics.
So then how can we take care, can I say, of ourselves, in the sense that, is there a way that somebody can identify if maybe an animal or whatever product they want to consume, it has not been properly handled? I'm not so sure if that is possible. If you look at the chicken, is there a way that you can identify? And what then should we do? You know, apart from, you'll tell us what the farmers need to do, but as the consumer, what am I supposed to do when I buy that chicken? The broiler that you say takes a very short time, you know, unlike the kienyeji ones. What am I supposed to do when I'm handling such kind of products?
So the worst bit of this is that you are not able to see these antibiotics, and if we leave alone the drugs, we're also having pesticides that are also in the environment, and these animals get exposed to. So you cannot be able to see, so you'll go ahead and consume the animal. The only point, which is very rare, and the government has put in place measures to cap that, is that when you find animals like cattle injected with antibiotics, you can find this within the muscle. And when they go through what we call meat inspection at the slaughterhouses, these are able to be picked and removed from the food chain. But otherwise, if the drug is given orally by mouth, or if the injection site has healed, then you are not able to pick this even during meat inspection. And therefore, you are able to not able to do anything about it. But then, as the consumers, what needs to happen is to create awareness among consumers. And the consumers should be able to demand for more safer food. How can you demand for more safer food? By going for milk that has been produced or that has gone through the normal processing channel, unlike milk that is being sold in informal setups. Because when milk that has gone through processing, when they are being received at probably at the cooperatives, then they go through testing to look at these antimicrobials. But with awareness, you're then able to understand much more of this.
So just briefly before we close up, what should then the farmers do? And probably I could even say there's a failure somewhere. I don't know whether to say it's with the veterinarians or who. Why is it that farmers are allowed to use this medication without any form of regulation? But even as you talk about that, what should the farmers do?
There is a weak link, I would say, because these antibiotics are sold by professionals and they are accessible to the farmers. So that is where the weak link comes in terms of regulation from government, and also professionals just making sure that they don't release this prescription medication to farmers. But at the same time, our farmers are on a cost-cutting mission. They want to produce as much as possible and make as much profit at the detriment of the health of the people. So they will go for the medication, for self-medication, because they are cost-cutting on the veterinary service. When they do that, then they will make the profits, yes, but then at a huge cost.
Exactly.
At a huge cost.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moses Olum. So we're talking to Dr. Moses Olum. He is a researcher, at Kenya Agriculture Livestock Institute, that is KALRO. Thank you so much for coming to the studio and just talking to us about antimicrobial resistance in animals. This is a very, very important topic, I must say, because it is not just animal health, but also human health being put, at risk. But this is a topic that probably we need to explore further. So on that note, we want to continue with the news. And Kirinyaga County has recorded a steady rise in early childhood development education enrollment following sustained investment in school infrastructure, improved service delivery, and enhanced teacher welfare. Governor Anne Waiguru states that learning centers in the county have seen an increase from 13,280 learners in 2017 to 16,398 in 2025, reflecting growing parental confidence in public ECDE centers and improved retention rates among young learners. Waiguru further underscored the county government's commitment to continuous investment in early childhood education to ensure every child in Kirinyaga gets access to education.
Empowerment, but a vehicle for social change that opens an avenue for endless possibilities for the nation. We are therefore committed to supporting our children's education.
Wanabeba viti wakikuja shule, lakini saa hivi vile ametusaidia, ametuletea tables, watoto wanasoma poa, tuko na chairs, na pia ametujengea class poa. Ni modern, iko na tiles, uniform tulipata last year, na bado vitabu tunapata, tuteseki, tunapata mpaka pencil. Imetusaidia sana juu najua kuna wazazi hawakuwa na afford.
Livestock farmers across the country have received a boost following the launch of a new mobile application aimed at improving access to livestock markets. The application, known as Livestock X, is designed to expand market opportunities, increase farmers' income, and help curb livestock theft, making livestock trading safer and more efficient for both buyers and sellers. It also provides farmers with practical guidance on best livestock keeping practices to promote healthier animals and higher productivity. Narok, Kajiado, Taita Taveta counties have been selected for the pilot phase of the initiative.
Taken the whole trading process from start to end and put it on your phone, which means a farmer can be able to sell to a buyer from wherever they are in Kenya, regardless of location and geographical area. All they need is a phone.
The capability within the platform, you're able to track the weight gain of this particular livestock in the feedlot program. We're able also to track the type of vaccines that are being administered, to this particular livestock. So that in itself brings, a very good record.
Built a very easy to use app which allows you to list all of your animals, even those that are not in a feedlot program. We provide veterinary services to make sure that the animals are healthy.
Now, Cooperative Bank is undertaking a nationwide youth-focused financial empowerment program aimed at preparing young people for future planning and sustainable wealth creation. The free virtual session targets students, young entrepreneurs, and employees, covering practical skills in budgeting, saving, and building wealth. The lender, if availing professionals to train the youth on wealth creation, options such as money market funds and stocks for both short and long-term investments.
Tulisema wealth saa zingine si pesa peke yake, so unaweza zi-split useme in December, how is my health? Have I improved? Have I gotten worse? In December, ningeweza calculate net worth yangu ya pesa nitakuwa nini. So kuna mwenye amefungua money market already ameweka, so huyo already yako 100 points up. Kuna mwingine ataandika pale chini, nataka by December nikuwe na connections. Unajua, inaweza kuwa ya biz, inaweza kuwa ya kupata job. Ni goal, jipatie hiyo goal.
Consultations on the proposed 2.5 billion shillings Lower Tuckwell irrigation scheme is underway. Regional Development Cabinet Secretary Beatrice Askul says already land issues have been ironed out for the project.
The proposed Lower Tuckwell irrigation project is set to put 3,000 hectares of land under irrigation in parts of Turkana and West Pokot counties when fully operationalized. The government has initiated meetings with various stakeholders to address any issues about the project, such as land demarcation, before construction begins.
There is so much that we need to explore within, and this is the reason why we've converged here to speak into that matter, that we need to do the change. Because much of the leadership are the people who know better what's supposed to be done here.
Regional Development Cabinet Secretary Beatrice Askul says the irrigation scheme will offer alternative sources of livelihoods away from herding.
A huge volume of water, but we are not using it. Okay, there was the bit of using it to generate power, but that is not enough. We need to turn this huge asset that we have here, this sleeping elephant around here, into a more productive, food secure of these two counties.
Tuasemui watafaidika kwa sababu watapata uajiri, pia watapata vile nimesema chakula, na pia utakuwa kwamba wealth will be created from this region. Kwa hivyo mambo ya insecurity pia itaenda chini. Kwa hivyo
the irrigation scheme that will be anchored on the Tuckwell Dam is expected to support crop production and mitigate the negative impact of climate change.
We need to change and get to agropastoralism. We need to also add value into the products we get from the livestock.
Benson Drioba reporting for Lunchtime News.
TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance has finalized a deal to establish a majority American-owned joint venture. Now, the venture will secure U.S. data to avoid a U.S. ban on the short video app used by over 200 million Americans. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the borders.
The deal by ByteDance to establish a majority American-owned joint venture is a milestone for the social media firm after years of battles that began in August 2020 when Trump unsuccessfully tried to ban the app over national security concerns. The joint venture will secure U.S. user data, apps, and algorithms through data privacy and cybersecurity measures. The deal provides for American and global investors to hold 80.1% of the venture, while ByteDance will own 19.9%. The joint venture's three managing investors, comprising cloud computing giant Oracle, private equity group Silver Lake, and Abu Dhabi-based investment firm MGX, will each hold 15%. Meanwhile, China's manufacturing sector accelerated its intelligent upgrade in 2025 with double-digit growth in smart equipment procurement. Nationwide, manufacturing enterprises increased their procurement of automated and digital equipment by over 10%. Driven by this trend, sales revenue of the smart equipment manufacturing industry grew by 28.1% year-on-year. Manufacturing enterprises spending on procurement of digital technologies grew by 10.4% year-on-year, up 3.5% points compared to the previous year. Finally, the gold and silver futures hit record highs as investors were flocking to safer assets. On the New York Mercantile Exchange, the most active February gold futures contract soared past $4,900 per ounce during the session, while March silver futures climbed above $96 per ounce. Benefiting from rising investment demand, robust industrial consumption, and dwindling physical supplies, silver prices have risen 31% so far in January, after soaring nearly 150% in 2025.
Now to sports. The world's fastest road runners are set for a blockbuster showdown in Boston as defending champion John Korir renews his rivalry with World Cup Championship Alphonse Simbo at the 2026 Boston Marathon set to be held on the 20th of April. Defending champion Korir returns in top form after a sensational 2025. His victory in Boston last year came just 6 months after triumphing at the 2024 Chicago Marathon before he capped the year with a victory at the Valencia Marathon. Tanzania's Simbo, who finished second in Boston last year, will once again be a major threat, while Kenya's Cyprian Kotut, who placed third, is also back to challenge for top honors. Joining them is Kenya's Benson Kipruto, one of the most decorated athletes in the field, with wins at the 2021 Boston Marathon, 2022 Chicago Marathon, 2024 Tokyo Marathon and 2025 New York City Marathon.
Going to win this race, but now Connor Mance has to win the race he's in if he's going to get that second position.
Soak it in, John Korir. John Korir is the man who is going to meet the moment in Boston, champion of the 129th Boston Marathon. And then the race here. Simbu, Kotut, and Mance. They've dropped Mance, and now for second. Kotut and Simbu.
Yes, but it's a big PR for Connor Mance. It might not be second place, but 2:05.06. Amazing.
Lunchtime news on KBC Channel 1, and that's how we end the Lunchtime news this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time as always and your company. My name is Yambo, and helping me on the sign language was Lensa Odingo.
It may be rather hard now, but right here, if you stay confident and trust yourself and have faith, you will be able to change your fate.
We act on impulse about something, we might bring Essie even more trouble.
Katika Qur'an tukufu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anatuamuru tukumbushane, kwani kukumbushana kunawafaa waumini. Kwa mujibu wa hadithi, Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam anatushauri tueneze ujumbe wake angalau kwa aya moja. Basi tunatia ari kufanya ambacho ni jukumu la kila Muislamu, kukumbushana mema na kukatazana maovu. Tunakuletea mawaidha za mashehe, wataalam, maustadh, madrasa, makala spesheli na Ukti Fatuma Yakub, mafunzo na historia za mitume na maswahaba, na burudani kupitia nashid na wasifu za munshid. Tazama ukumbi wa Kiislamu nami Alishe kila Ijumaa saa 9:30 katika KBC Channel 1.
Kuna upaya gani mtu akikwambia hiyo picha ni mzuri? Kuna upaya gani?
Unaangalia simu yangu kwa nini? You aren't allowed to read anything on my phone.
Excuse
phone
me.
is private.
What can you do?
I can terminate you even now.
To terminate who?
Yes.
Nauliza, macho iko na pasia?
Macho hakuna pasia.
Very good. Kuangalia ni vibaya?
Ni makosa, pana angalia kitu.
Nauliza kuangalia namna hivi vile naangalia ni makosa, ni dhambi.
Hiyo hakuna makosa.
Very nice. Kwa nini unakuja kuongea mambo ya urongo na ili hali wakati mimi nilikuwa naangalia abiria wengine ulinipika ngumi na ukaning'oa meno? Si ndio hii? Na hata huku ingia kwa hiyo kali, huku kwa hiyo matatu. Kwa nini?
Nani alikutoa ndani ya matatu? Kama wewe anatwanga hii msemo ngumi, nani alitoa wewe?
Dereva ndio walitusema tushuke chini.
Nikakukamata ukasema nisamee. Ukumbuke ukiomba msamaha.
Acha uongo bwana, watu wajinga.
Hello everyone, welcome to China Farm. Wherever you are, come along with me as we embark on this fascinating journey into the world of agriculture. In central China's Xiaogan city, Hubei province, Daiguojuan raises something special. It swims in water, runs on land, and even flies in the sky. It's a popular local delicacy for night snacks.